All right, we are back with another video, and I'm so excited that you are sticking with me to dive into all this really good content about how you, as an interior product company, can increase your brand awareness and revenue. So, if you missed the first two videos, I highly suggest you go back on our blog and check those videos out. But I'm just going to give you a quick recap. In the first video, we dived into talking about all the traditional ways of positioning and selling interior products in this industry that we're in, right? A lot of times these companies have been sticking to in-person interactions, sales calls, and you name it, which has been great for a long time. But I want you all to start thinking outside of the box when it comes to how you're going to increase your brand awareness and your revenue. In the second video, I introduced you to my method called ACE the Journey. In this method, we put the interior designer at the center of our focus and think about their customer journey with your brand from the time they learn about a product to the time that it's actually installed in your project. And ACE simply breaks down 3 different steps that you can start thinking about and 3 different questions that you can ask yourself. How are we appearing in the market? How are we consulting designers? And how are we executing a sale? And these 3 different steps are going to help you, understand different pain points in a customer journey and fill in those holes with different new strategies and opportunities so that you can keep a designer coming back over and over and over for different projects. In the second video, we talked a lot about that first letter in ACE the Journey, the A, the appearing. How are you appearing in the marketplace? And I gave you all a case study of an office furniture dealership in the city that I'm in and how they had missed an opportunity to optimize their SEO for their website, right? Because a lot of their competitors were showing up in the first and second page of search results for designers that were actually looking for what they were offering. So today I actually want to dive into the C of ACE the Journey acronym, and that is, again, consulting. How are we consulting designers? And I want to bring up this because it's super, super important. I remember when I first got started in the interior design industry within sales, my boss then really focused on the presence that I was going to have when I actually met with a designer. To start off with a positive attitude, right? To understand a designer's projects and what their needs were. But in reality, over the course of my career, I saw a lot of sales reps taking the approach of, I have so many products to sell, we have so many product launches every year, let me just update these libraries, do these presentations, and get in front of my designers and kind of have a word vomit, for lack of a better word, of presenting all of these products, right? So they're taking this approach of a used car salesman and saying, here is the brand that I represent. Here are all the products that we have. This is why these products are cool. Here are all the features, and this is why you should use them in your project, right? And that is a way of selling to designers, yes, but it's kind of, I don't even know the right word to say, not so good. What I want you to start thinking about as an interior product company and as you're equipping your sales team to go out there and position your products, I want you to start thinking about selling as a consultant, right? So when you're selling as a consultant, you're not really going into a design firm or a meeting with the designer from a frame of mind of, let me sell all these products or let me tell them about everything that we have. But instead, you're coming into it with a frame of mind of how can I understand this designer's projects, their needs of the project, their timeline, their budget, the scope of the project, their design intent. And then from that understanding, how can I then take the products that I sell and position it in their project, right? So let me give you an example of a project that I worked on. I started it actually a couple of years ago, and then it became the highest sale that I have ever gotten in the history of my career, which actually closed during the height of COVID-19. So it was a project that I was working on with one of the top hospitality firms in the world and in New York City. They were working on a revamp and a renovation of a hotel in New York City, right? So initially, when the designer came to me, they knew that I sold wall covering, right? So I could have gone into that project saying, okay, here are all the wall coverings that we have, that we can digitally print wall coverings, we could do custom, here are everything that's in our collection right now, and here's how we can tweak it. But instead of approaching the project that way, I went into the meeting with the designer with an open mind. I wanted to understand, hey, what is the scope of your project? So are you designing guest rooms? Are you designing the hallways? Are you designing the public spaces? What's the timeline of the project? What is the design intent by getting a feel for what the renderings look like, if they had any, and then understanding the budget, the details of the project, and so on and so forth. And so as I asked lots of discovery questions and had the designer share more and more information with me, I started to understand it wasn't that they needed the wall covering that I offered, right? They actually needed much more than they knew that I offered in my product line. So then I could come and pull together some options for them that could help them pull off their project. So that's what I mean by consulting a designer. Asking lots of discovery questions once you're in that meeting to understand the full scope of the project, the design intent, the budget, the timeline, and then coming back to them with a full package of products that can actually serve them and actually pull off their project in a much easier manner, right? So now you're working hand in hand with the designer on their project. And I understand that this also requires an in-depth understanding of interior design, the design process, and all the different details. And luckily I have that background because of my education and my career experience. But I want design sales representatives and architectural sales representatives to start thinking of this as they are approaching their projects. Because now that designer can understand that I can be a resource to them on that project and several projects that they have coming up. And because I was able to ask those discovery questions and put a package together, I was able to bring in a sale that was way over $400,000 for one single sale. And that involves consulting the designer rather than just selling to them, right? So let's take a step back for a moment. We talked a lot about the traditional way of positioning and selling products in the interior design industry. I also introduced you all to Ace the Journey, a method that allows you to start thinking about a customer's journey with your brand. So from the time a designer finds out about a product until the time that it's actually installed in a project, so that you can identify where those gaps are in that journey and start creating innovative strategies to fill in those holes. But my ultimate goal is to be supportive for you and to break down each part of Ace the Journey, and so you can start thinking about how you're going to stand out in this industry. Because at the end of the day, there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of interior product companies that you might be going up against. So I'm super, super excited. I hope all of this information has been helpful for you today and over the course of the last week where we have been diving into all of this information. I just want to make sure that you are supported as you're making a transformation into increasing your brand awareness, increasing your revenue within your interior product company, and also just creating a deeper understanding of a designer's journey with your brand, right? That you're able to identify those opportunities where you can improve upon so that designers find out about you, so that they come back to you over and over again, and so that they're singing your praises to other members of their team or other design friends as they're designing their projects as well. So I want to make an offer to you. I'm only opening up availability to support 10 interior design firms over the course of the next few weeks in a private training, right? I'm going to send the details in an email soon. So if you're on my email list, you'll see the email. But if not, if you're interested in being a part of those 10 as you are transforming your brand, increasing your brand awareness, and increasing your revenue so that you can stand out in this interior design industry, drop a comment below this video and I'll be sure to follow up with you. So look out for an email. If you're not on my email list, drop a comment below and I'll be sure to reach out, because in the next week, my calendar is going to be closing. And if you're not a part of those 10, who knows where you'll be. So anyway, I'll talk to you all soon.